Okay, good morning and welcome to our SBDC Paychex webinar, 6 Things Businesses Get Wrong When It Comes to Attracting and Retaining Talent. My name is Maria Dennison and I'm the Regional Director for the Small Business Development Center for the Southwest 22 counties. On our program today, we have special guests. We have 3 speakers for you today. 2 of the folks are from Paychex, and we have one individual who is from his own, has his own company. And I'd like to introduce, first of all, who the SBDC is. The Kansas Small Business Development Center, as I said, services the 22 Southwest counties. We are a grant-funded organization that is hosted by Seward County Community College. We are in existence to help entrepreneurs to get started and to help existing businesses to grow and thrive. Our funding partners include the SBA, the Kansas Department of Commerce, Seward County Community College, and in Dodge City, where our outreach center is located, we're supported by the Dodge City Ford County Development Corporation. Next slide. Our SBDC team, as I said, I'm Maria Dennison. Our outreach center is run by Ashley Still, who's not here today, but she's our Dodge City advisor. And then in Liberal, we have Magdalena Rivera, who is our business specialist and helps clients with everything from business planning to assisting in marketing. She just joined us in January, so we're very blessed to have her. Next slide. To give you an idea of some of the things that the SBDC offers and what we specialize in, our primary focus is business planning and financial forecasting. We do confidential at no cost to clients, confidential advising. We supply you with analytical tools. We have access to multiple databases to provide you with secondary market research. 90% of what we do is free to the client. That other 10% falls in specialty categories, where we also have an outreach center where it comes, where we do technical and commercialization of products. We also offer succession planning, business valuations, international trade. The SBDC has 8 separate regions across the state of Kansas, and each one of the directors or business advisors are usually certified in a specific area. The specialty that we have here in Southwest Kansas is human resources, and my team all has some sort of background, whether it's insurance, whether it's benefits, that they contribute to that environment. But we utilize our entire team across the state to help clients in the areas that they're needing or requiring. Should you have those needs, should you require assistance in any of the areas listed when it comes to business planning, cash flow, marketing plans, those are all things that fall under our primary counseling, and offer those to all of you at no cost. The highlight of our program today, though, is we were able to partner with Paychex, who I met Adam Rafferty at a SHRM conference. And together we started talking about what were some of the big things that small businesses were needing today. And one of those came to the surface about tax credits. How can small businesses benefit from tax credits that are offered out there? What are those tax credits? What do they look like? That is where our speaker, Rob, is going to come in today. And then Jenni Hodge and Tina Cook from Paychex are going to discuss with us the Great Resignation. What is happening with our workforce? Where are people going? What are businesses not doing right in retaining and attracting talent? So I'd like to introduce them and give you a short bio about each one of them. Jenni Hodge, with almost 10 years with Paychex in various roles, Jenni finds herself as a human resource business partner and is focused on helping clients solve human resource challenges and to provide effective recommendations that will help them consider how business decisions can impact their organization and their employees. She works with business owners and their leadership teams to build the groundwork for a compliant business that understands how human capital impacts the company's bottom line. She believes that balancing the needs of the business with the needs of those that can help the business to succeed is the foundation for success. An environment where employees are treated as valued assets to an organization allows you to truly see their potential. And Tina Cook is a previous Paychex client for almost 11 years. Tina has a strong loyalty to not just her role as a human resource business partner within the company, but also the products. Tina has over 35 years of experience in all facets of human resources, including healthcare and manufacturing environments, as well as in union and non-union shops. Her skill set includes benefits administration, compliance, employee relations, OSHA, recruiting, training and development, and wage and hour. Having been in this role for 5 years, Tina enjoys the opportunity to be a strong strategic partner with her clients and sharing in their success as they grow. I'm going to hand over our presentation right now to Jenni and Tina, and they're going to take it away for the next 42 minutes. And then I'm going to introduce you to Rob, who's going to take over tax credits. So thank you. Tina?
Wonderful. Thank you, Maria. We really appreciate being here today and look forward to going over this wonderful topic with all of you. So thank you for taking the time to each and every one of you. So we're going to start with the agenda, all right? Let's review what we're going to cover in today's session. So first we'll cover the Great Resignation, what it is and its impact on employers. The Great Reevaluation is also emerging as a new term or buzzword, and something else I've heard recently is the Great Reorganization. Next, we'll discuss share 2 key findings from our 2 surveys, Future Workplace and 2021 Pulse of HR. Then we'll talk about the reshaping retention strategies to reimagine the workforce. After that, we'll discuss how HR technology can boost productivity, communication, and management. Finally, we'll share some helpful resources and also talk about how Paychex and our trusted partners can help you and your clients address some of the challenges we'll be talking about today. This industry-leading information will provide insight into the current HR and business trends to better serve you. The knowledge gained can help evaluate your consultative role with clients and ensure they are best equipped, prepared to meet challenges and find efficiencies to help businesses grow. So one of our housekeeping items is, just want to read this disclaimer. The information in this material and those provided by the presenters should not be considered legal or accounting advice, and it should not substitute for legal, accounting, or other professional advice where the facts and circumstances warrant. It is provided for informational purpose only. We encourage you to consult with legal counsel considering your own situation or for any specific legal questions you might have. All right, so the Great Resignation, again, otherwise known as the Great Reevaluation or Reorganization, workers are leaving jobs in large numbers after reassessing personal priorities during the COVID-19 pandemic, often evaluating whether employers are truly understanding their work-life challenges and whether they want to remain with that company or even in the workforce itself. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that 34.5 million Americans have quit their job in 2021. That's huge. And based on survey results, it's part of an ongoing trend in the labor market. All right, so the Great Resignation, what is it? Why is it important? So also another buzzword for Great Resignation is the Great Reshuffle. According to U.S. Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey report from the U.S. Department of Labor, released in October 12th, the 4.3 million people who quit their job equated to about 2.9% of the workforce. In September, the quit rate rose to 3%, which is a new record in terms of turnover. If you look at this graphic, you can see the rate of total quits was high in April, dipped in May, and then has been on an incline ever since. Employers in the field of healthcare, accommodations, food service, and education are seeing the highest rate of vacancy. So who is driving the resignation? The Harvard Business Review conducted an in-depth analysis in September that included more than 9 million employee records for more than 4,000 companies. 2 key trends were found. Resignation rates are highest among mid-career employees, so age 30 to 45, and that group also has the highest increase in resignation rates, with an average increase of more than 20% between 2020 and 2021. The Harvard Business Review study explored possible factors including whether employers feel younger workers are risky hires given remote training constraints and want those with experience, or whether these mid-career employees delayed leaving roles due to pandemic uncertainties, while pent-up frustrations prompted them to seek a new role. Whether employees reached the breaking point during pandemic and reevaluating work-life goals. And the second thing found in the Harvard Business Review study was resignations are highest in the tech and healthcare industries. In general, the Harvard Business Review study found that resignation rates were higher among employees who worked in fields that had experienced extreme increase in demand due to the pandemic, likely leading to increased workloads and burnout. All right, so Future Workplace is an HR research and advisory firm partnering with Paychex to conduct a series of monthly research reports focused on the employee point of view to pinpoint top concerns, priorities, and trends facing the modern workforce. This is the first survey in a series of research reports administered by Future Workplace in partnership with Paychex that will continue to examine HR, employer, and employee trends. So we're going to look at this slide here. So the scope of the study, you've got 630 full-time workers at U.S. companies with 20 to 500 employees in a variety of in-person, hybrid, and remote job roles. So questions to focus on is current loyalty to employers and feelings around the return to office. And we'll get into that a little more. All right. Fifth annual Paychex Pulse of HR report, based on findings conducted via an online survey, May 11th through June 3rd of 2021, among 1,000 HR decision makers at U.S. companies with, again, 20 to 500 employees, number 5 in an annual series of benchmarking surveys investigating HR leaders' challenges, priorities, and the use of technology. How employers leverage these findings when transitioning employees back into the office can ultimately influence a company's ability to attract and retain top talent. So you can see the scope of the study there, the key findings, that process, policies, and priorities. All right, employee retention is at a significant risk. So that's not news to us in this presentation. Almost 30% of workers are seeking new jobs. Fewer baby boomers born between 1946 and 1964 and Gen X workers born between 1965 and 1980 report that they're actively looking for a new role. But some 44% of Gen Z workers and 35% of millennials are actively looking for a new job. Further, employees who are working in a fully remote environment are significantly less likely than those working in a hybrid environment to be looking for a new job. And that's 58% versus 73%. That tells us that flexible work and work from home arrangements are desirable options for employees. All right, the COVID-19 pandemic gave many workers the opportunity to reflect on what is most important to them in a job and employer and assesses their priorities for future roles. For the business clients or yourself who are leading in the company, it's important to consider the existing schedules of their employees. What are they up against? What are you doing to help them address the challenges that they face? Do you have an EAP program? A true open door policy? Is it easy to point out problems, but it's critical, or it's easy to point out problems, but it's critical that leaders focus on solutions that can help your employees stay more engaged at work. So you can see here, it's stronger emphasis on a work-life balance, remote work, a new norm for many, increased pressures at home, so childcare and schooling needs, that was a very big pressure during the pandemic and the stay-at-home order, and then new focus on mental health and emotional well-being. So we're going to review this slide, the top factors driving employee loyalty. So what changes could your employer develop to make you a more loyal employee? So increase in pay is 61%. You can see that there at the top. A stay bonus, 39%. More paid time off, 39%. Flexible work hours, so it's in the top 4 at 35%. And a better, more accessible health insurance, 23%. Childcare reconfiguration is the new normal. And for an organization to retain employees, 61% of respondents noted that 10 to 15% salary increase would be enticing to encourage an employee to stay. In addition to a pay increase, a stay bonus, more paid time off, a flexible work hours, those are benefits that would increase an employee's loyalty. All right, let's talk about some emerging priorities in the workplace. So to review this information from the Pulse of HR report, we have attracting talent at 61%. So employees now have more control over their options, and employers are at mercy of candidates. So you've got generational differences. Gen X and Boomers were raised in a different work culture than Gen Z and Millennial. They want different things, and they are less willing to accept unfavorable cultures, pay rates, benefits, etc. from employers. So DEI, you've got planning, diversity, equality, and inclusion initiatives at 57%. So employees want to work for a company that value their differences. Businesses need to focus on DEI initiatives if they want to stay competitive, not only with attracting and retaining talent, but also harnessing the unique qualities of their workforce to outplace the competition. And then offering competitive benefits at 57% as well. So employers can attract and retain talent by upgrading their benefit package with new and unique offerings. Have you considered fertility or adoption benefits? What about access to a legal plan? Perhaps increasing PTO benefits or providing a short-term and long-term disability coverage. What about paid maternity, paternity benefits? And of course, flexible work hours or telecommuting options. And keeping current on HR technology is our third one at 57%. Do your employees have a problem or have a platform to stay engaged with each other throughout the day? Do they have access to on-demand pay stubs and W-2 information? What about electronic timekeeping options for HRIS platforms that allow employees to submit electronic time off requests and provide benefit administrators with a tool for tracking leave of absence? These are all technology enhancements that make employees' lives easier and remove some of that administrative burden on the payroll and HR function. And finally, keeping up and complying with regulations at 56%. Before COVID, regulations changed regularly. After COVID, regulations can change almost daily. Business owners and leaders need a way to stay informed about all the regulatory changes that can impact their businesses. And trying to do that on their own can seem like a full-time job. What support do you have in place to assist with keeping up to speed on regulatory and compliance changes? All right, so we are going to review the top challenges by industry. And this information is just going to come straight from the slide. And so you can see in the IT and software area, the top priority that's a challenge is administering benefits, onboarding new hires, and retention. For financial services and accounting, it's attracting talent, keeping current on HR tech solutions, and then managing DEI programs. For manufacturing, It's offering competitive benefits, attracting talent, and training and development. For construction, contracting, and skilled trades, it's tracking worker satisfaction, concerns, etc., and managing DEI programs, as well as administering benefits. And then in the retail setting, it's tracking worker satisfaction, concerns, etc., managing DEI programs, and administering benefits. All right, and this is from the Pulse of HR report as well. So when it comes to diversity, equality, and inclusion, the DEI, diversity efforts have increased 30% this year. 32% of companies will put someone in charge of DEI work. And 72% of HR leaders have put training in place to address employee discrimination and workplace harassment. So mental health, where does employee mental health have the greatest impact? So 40% of HR leaders increasingly see a link between employee mental health and productivity and company profitability. Only 4% don't see employee mental health as an employer responsibility. And that's from the Pulse of HR report findings. So you can see its greatest impact is on productivity, quality of work, safety, employee morale, and employee collaboration. The calculation recommended by Harvard Business Review to determine your rate of retention is number of separations per year divided by average total number of employees equals your turnover rate. However, the numbers only tell a piece of the story. What's the true cost of losing your talent? Impact on productivity, workload, bottom line? The answer is much more complicated than a simple calculation. So you can see on this slide, it's showing you an equation, but there's a lot of other things to take into consideration. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn over this presentation to Tina Cook.
Hi, and good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Allison Stevens, who is the Director of HR Services here at Paychex, was recently quoted in the Pulse survey where she stated that for many, the COVID-19 pandemic revealed that employees felt that their current position or company was not serving them. If companies are not adapting or responding to the rapidly evolving and expanding needs of their employees, they are likely falling behind in the race to recruit, retain top talent. Just to expand on that a bit more, I think there was some arrogance and assumption that when the world opened up, that employees would be clamoring for any job that they could possibly get. What actually happened was that employees had to accept that jobs went away. They started to recognize what was important and then reprioritize their lives and their work needs. They began to prioritize working in an organization where they are seen, valued, and understood. They're no longer willing to work at jobs where they are not appreciated or offered the pay and benefits that they once felt they deserved. We've seen a huge shift in perspective of employer-employee relationships, and we need to make adjustments to accommodate workers. That means providing options for remote work, more flexibility, greater freedom. We're also seeing a shift happening in the power paradigm from the employer to the employee. Employees know that they no longer have to accept poor treatment, low pay, lack of benefits, lack of flexibility, or even lack of appreciation from the employer. There's so many jobs that employees can literally just take their pick at other opportunities. And this is allowing employees to walk away from unfulfilling jobs and to seek another position. So how are employers going beyond those traditional incentives? The modern employee is no longer satisfied by the status quo. COVID-19 has actually radically accelerated efforts to promote that work-life balance, to raise that mental health awareness, and provide for emotional and social and financial support. People will be drawn toward employers who are offering an inspiring combination of easy-to-access benefits that meet their personal needs. It's going to be crucial for HR leaders, to consider expanding their benefit program beyond the traditional offerings that prioritize wellness in order to foster a workplace that allows your employees and those businesses to thrive. And as we look at this PowerPoint a little more in depth, we see again that those traditional incentives were competitive wages, child care and elder needs, lifestyle balance from tuition assistance to wellness, retirement plans, healthcare and insurance plans and benefits, and of course, mental health, those well-being programs and access. So here we see from the post-2021 survey, the survey findings on higher pay. What % of pay increase would entice you to stay within your organization? We're going to look at what is salary benchmarking even? What does the competitive word mean? Well, Future Workplace Loyalty Survey of those employees surveyed who are actively looking for a new job had indicated that 42% were looking for a 10 to 15% salary increase that would motivate them to stay in their current role, while only 20% of the respondents indicated that a 3 to 10% increase would be likely enough to impact their decision to stay within their current organization. And here we are looking at those top 6 most valued benefits by generation. We see the generational differences, right? From Gen X to baby boomers. These are raised in a different work culture than Gen Z and millennials. They want different things and they're less willing to accept those unfavorable cultures, pay rates, benefits, and et cetera from those employers. Baby boomers. Those are those individuals that were born between 1946 and 1964. They are most motivated of all the generations by higher pay at 70%. And better, more accessible health insurance at 24%. They are least motivated of all generations by the work-life balance commitment at 16%, and then mental and health wellness benefits at 8%. Remote work options desired only at 20%. Gen X, those are those individuals that were born between 1965 and 1980. These individuals want better and more accessible health insurance as a top priority at 23%. They are least motivated of all generations by remote work options at 14%. And they do want access to a nice retirement plan at 13%. And then we have the millennials, those individuals who were born between 1981 and 1996. They are most motivated of all generations by more paid time off at 43%. Remote work options at 25%, and greater commitment to work-life balance at 26%. Gen Z workers, who are those who are born between 1997 and 2012, are more motivated by, of all the generations, by flexible work hours at 44%, where then mental health and wellness benefits came in at 33%. And these individuals are also least motivated of all generations by higher pay at 41%, and access to retirement plans at 13%. So when we talk about remote work, what's that responsibility that falls on a manager to adapt to individual employee needs? If you have remote workers, it's important to provide some internal development training. It's also important for those leaders to know how to effectively manage that remote work environment. It's critical for leaders to talk about those needs and with their new employees during that interviewing and hiring onboarding process that you have. For existing employees, though, it's really important to make an effort to check in with them to find out how remote work arrangement is going and if there's anything that needs to be tweaked. Employees who are working remotely or in a hybrid environment are significantly more likely to stay loyal if they're offered the option to work remotely. And that was according to the Future Workplace Survey that Jenni read back on slide 10. Jeannie Meister from Future Workplace was recently quoted as saying, "The way employers approach the hybrid workplace and embrace both the learning and the challenges of the past year and a half will definitely have a lasting impact on who stays, who exits, and who builds their skills to prepare for a new role at their current company." We're also going to look at the top 3 remote work challenges. Those are and include training and development right there at the top, engagement and retention, as well as management and oversight of the work. Now we're going to consider looking at fostering that employee engagement into a new landscape. What does that look like? First of all, we're going to talk about how HR professionals are responding. And we're seeing that from the Pulse of 2021 survey that was done, 50% actually decreased reporting engagement over the last year. When employees disconnect or disengage, companies are highly at risk of losing them. And as we go back and look at the slide here, we can see that there are strategies to improve in that engagement. 45% is offering training to help employees develop new skills. 39% is empowering those employees to suggest that new work methods or projects be made available to them. While 39% also are looking for surveying employees about even job satisfaction. So then we look at what are those strategies then? So we've looked at improving engagement. Now let's look at retention. 41% provide financial incentives, while 41% offer remote work options and 38% provide flexible work options. HR technology is definitely a new cornerstone to company success. And according to the Pulse of HR report, 50% of HR leaders were opting to evaluate them. They're looking at performance over individual employee performance, and that is up 32% from the past year. As we look at the slide, we can see that we're needing to manage and support remote workers. We're needing to help managers and employees be connected and communicate through technology. We also are looking at how does HR professionals support employees with programs for a better work-life balance. How about increasing training opportunities to optimize productivity of remote workers, as well as offering a secure method for employees to receive confidential answers to HR questions while they're even remote. So we continue looking at the HR technology and enhancing employer offerings. We're looking at HR budgets, right? So this is a top expenditure that was reported in the 2021 survey that was conducted. When it comes to HR tech, top areas of focus for HR professionals, again, are that employee self-service initiative. 81% are measuring workplace productivity and efficiency at 80%. Staff training and development programs at 79%. And even planning a return to office strategy at 77%, while developing remote arrangements at 76%. So what is the key to reimagine that workplace? It's flexibility. On the bottom line, with all this information, there's definitely no cookie cutters, no one size fits all. Multi-pronged approach is what is needed. Continually reevaluating what's working and what's not is definitely that reconfiguration. So we have gone through our slide presentation and we've really kind of recapped at this point 6 things that we feel that businesses are really getting wrong at this time when it comes to looking at and attracting and retaining that talent. So let's look at those individually. Well, number 1, not having a clear path for career progression. Number 2 is underestimating that value of training and skill development opportunities. Number 3, not offering a benefit package that meets the needs of multi-generational workforce. Number 4, neglecting to educate all benefits offered. Number 5, underestimating how desirable flexibility or even remote work is for most employees. And lastly, undervaluing the impact that technology has on its employees' abilities and willingness to accept their benefits. So with this information that we provided you, where do you go from here? Paychex has many, many resources, and we are definitely excited to be able to share this information with you. First of all, we have the Paychex.com Works. This provides latest resources and tools and the most current trends and news right at your fingertips. We also have Paychex podcast series, where you can subscribe and listen to podcasts, the Paychex Business Series with Gene Marks, and even Paychex HR Leadership Series, providing timely, targeted insights from industry leaders. We also provide Paychex HR Services. This flexibility is next generation mobile technology that is designed to help simply take those tasks for HRs, teams, administrators, and employees while saving you time and money. Specific HR guidance from your Paychex HR professional like myself and Jenni are there to help you grow your business and resolve any HR issues that you might have, while also improving employee relations through streamlining communication between employees and their supervisors and managers. We also have the Paychex Enterprise, and that is Adam Rafferty, who is with us today, kind of behind the scenes. And Adam is available here at this number, and these PowerPoint slides will be available for you after today's presentation with his contact information. And then also HIREtech is another great resource and another great tool that Paychex provides to our clients, and you'll have access to their website from here. So I want to thank you for the opportunity for Jenni and I to join you today. If you have any questions at the conclusion, please do not hesitate to reach out to Maria, who's monitoring through the chat feature. And now I am going to go ahead and turn the presentation back over to Maria. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Jenni, for running down those 6 elements of what we're not getting right where our employees are concerned. As Tina said, Rob Tiernan is with HIREtech. They are a partner to Paychex. And to give you a brief explanation of who Rob is, he has 22 years experience in sales and is in senior level management. He's had 13 years with a publicly traded $3 billion company. He's had 3 years with a startup software company. He's natural, personal, and engaging in the way that he communicates and teaches the finer points and implications of procedure and compliance in regard to human capital management. Rob's areas of expertise include sales and marketing, compliance, and human capital management. He's currently the Vice President of HIREtech and is a trusted partner with Paychex. Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Maria. Thanks, everyone. Everyone can hear me okay. Thumbs up on that. Awesome. And you guys can see my screen. So now that the bar has been set ridiculously high with that bio, I'm going to try to deliver on that. So let's see what we can do. But no, kidding aside. So a lot of great, awesome information by the Paychex team about what employers are facing, what your employees are feeling. We're going to now talk about what is out there for you as an employer when you bring on, when you retain talent. How are tax credits going to impact your business, especially with what we've been through the last 2 years? So that's what we're going to rattle through today with all this information. So let me get my screen moving. I'm going to talk about why this tax credit story has always been impactful in the US, but why now especially it's more important than ever that you're maximizing the opportunities that are in front of you. I'm going to go through the main hiring credit in the United States of America. I'm going to talk about the employee retention credit, which is a credit unlike anything we've ever seen in the United States. I'm going to touch on some technical tax credits. We have an awesome audience today. So all of these different things are going to hit on all potential things that you can benefit from. So that's what we're going to go through in the next 30 minutes or so. And the reason why we do these types of talks, why the Paychex team is constantly inviting us in, is because of the business world today, everyone. And at the end of the day, this is everybody. This is everybody on this call. This is everyone in the US. You got more rules, you got more regulations, more confusion and chaos than ever before. And that's pre-pandemic. Then you throw a pandemic on top of things and it makes the world even more chaotic than it already is to successfully run a business. And this tax credit story, everyone, there's a lot of moving parts to it in a good way, but there's a lot of things going on when it comes to what tax credits are for employers. And there's a lot of different programs that are out there. There are hiring tax credits. There are state and local programs that are constantly evolving, constantly changing, that are expiring, they're getting renewed, they're here, there, everywhere. They're as granular as to the zip codes that you work at. the zip codes to where your business is located. There's technical tax credits. On the technical side of the house, there's a very popular one, research and development, which we'll talk about today. There's another long-standing credit called cost segregation that has to do with making improvements, physical improvements to the building that you have or to the leases that you are working within. So that's another great program. The government for a long time has been doing emergency or disaster-related tax credits. So if you think hurricanes and floods and wildfires and tornadoes, the government's been doing those types of programs for well over 10 years. And that's led to the last 2 years with the creation of the employee retention credit. So we can handle it all. It's all types of programs we do. For the conversation today, we're going to focus on the 3 that I highlighted there: WOTC, the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, R&D, as well as ERC and the Employee Retention Credit. So the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, that's kind of the credit that really started everything in the US. It's one of the more longest standing tax credits, and that's what we're going to high level go through everyone today. That's what we're going to start with. So WOTC is the slang for it, if you will, for Work Opportunity Tax Credit. And here's the high level overview. It is good for any tax paying company in all 50 states, US Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. So again, we have an awesome audience on the call today. This is the same story for all of you. And the phrase behind it is to employ socially or economically disadvantaged individuals. Sometimes the government uses a phrase if you face barriers or obstacles to being employed. And this program has been around since 1996. So this is the longest standing federal tax credit program in the US. It is tried and true every single year it's been in existence. And then back in 2020, December of 2020, the government extended the WOTC program through 2025. The reason why that was so monumental is because that was the first time ever since 1996 that the government has extended the program for 5 years. Typically what happens is when this was created in 96, the government rolls the program out for 3 years, government votes on it, they extend it for 3 years. If you're in an election year, it gets a 1-year renewal. It's just the ebbs and flows of this program. But yet, December of 2020, the government said, we're not messing around. We need to extend this program for 5 years. Businesses need it now more than ever, and we don't want people to even have to think about what's going to happen with the WOTC program. To that point, what is it? What's it all about? Well, we're talking about a federal credit, not a deduction to your taxable income, but a dollar for dollar credit against your federal tax liability. So this program truly takes away the dollars that you owe in taxes. So it's always been impactful, but now more than ever, it really pays dividends for employers to be on board with what this program can do for you. So how you get the credit, how it all works. As an employer, it all starts with the dartboard. And what I mean by that is you have to hire someone that falls into one of the 10 target groups. There's a phrase called target groups. So dartboard, target, PowerPoint humor, target groups. That's what I mean by that. I'm not going to bore you guys with what all 10 target groups are, but examples of them are, if I hire a qualified military veteran, ex-felon, someone that's been on assistance like food stamps or SNAP benefits as they're called, long-term unemployed, if I hire somebody that has certain physical or mental challenges or disabilities, and there's 4 or 5 other target groups that are outlined by the WOTC program. But just hiring somebody that falls into a target group doesn't guarantee that I'm going to earn the credit. So the next step in the process is I, as the employer, have to pay attention to the time. And what I mean by that, everyone, is the hours worked by the eligible new hire. So I have 12 months from the first date of employment to get my new hire that's eligible for a target group to reach one of the minimum hours required. And the magic number is 120 hours worked, 120. Doesn't matter if you're full-time, part-time, seasonal, hours are hours. So I hire a qualified military veteran. They work for me for 119 hours and they quit or get fired, I will get 0. But once they hit 120, I start to earn partial WOTC credits going back to hour 1. So I don't lose the first 120 hours. I just got to get to it to start getting partial WOTC. And then I max out the credit as an employer when that individual gets to 400 hours worked in that 12-month period. Those are the ebbs and flows of how you maximize or get to the minimum hours worked. Now, one of the really cool things about the over 10-year partnership that we've had with Paychex is that for our mutual clients, we get a secure data file sent to us on those clients. So you as the employer, you don't have to think about those hours. You don't have to think about the tracking, the communicating with the state. We just get that stuff automatically. So that's one of the really awesome things about the partnership that we have. And then the way that the dollars are accrued is there's a formula. And the way that it works for WOTC is based on the target group, there's a different max dollar of credit. And those max value of credit when you hit 400 hours work, they range from 24 to 9,600 per certified credit per eligible employee. And why I love doing these types of conversations is because all of you that are part of SBDC in Kansas, y'all win. You guys win by bringing and instilling WOTC upon your respective businesses. And you especially win when you leverage the partnership that is HIREtech, that is Paychex, that we're all working together on this. Because here's the analytics and here's the stats. Department of Labor says roughly 20% of hires in the US are eligible for one of those 10 target groups. So 1 out of 5 hires hits a target group. And that's pre-pandemic, and we'll get to that in a minute, but that's the under-promise, over-deliver metric that DOL has always used. But then you guys see the national average for certification rates. So what happens with those eligible new hires is you ultimately want them to be certified. That is the end-all, be-all. That means you as employers win. You have a dollar amount to apply against your federal liability. Yet the national average off that 20% eligible only results in a 48% certification rate. Why we're excited to have these conversations with everyone is that in every state in the US, we have an over 70% cert rate. And we also lead the United States in dollars per credit found. Now, this is by no means a HIREtech Paychex pitch today, so I won't tell you all the reasons why those numbers are fact and how those all get accrued, but we have a very simple, easy process to make life easier for all of you as employers with what you have going on. And because we have an awesome audience today, I just want to spell out the types of businesses that we see taking advantage of WOTC, maximizing the WOTC program. So first and foremost, you know, and the Paychex team hit on this earlier, when you talk turnover rate, when you talk number of active employees versus your W-2 count at the end of the year, and that sort of thing, if you have high turnover, you absolutely need to be taking advantage of WOTC. We have a lot of clients that analyze their state unemployment insurance rate, and they go, oh my goodness, that rate is so high, I want to balance it out by maximizing the WOTC program. So turnover rate definitely plays a role in how you can process internally if this is a good program for you. Also, everyone, we have anybody in food and beverage. Now, you can talk QSR franchise space. That's an amazing fit. I could talk for an hour about that. But also mom and pop restaurants. It's all the same. High turnover, great fit for the WOTC program. Anybody in manual labor, blue collar, roll up your sleeves, get them done, those types of industries, construction, lawn care, manufacturing, historically, really, really good fit for WOTC. You got home health, nursing, hospice care, assisted living facilities, lots of turnover, historically, always a great fit for WOTC. Retail. A lot of turnover, seasonal hiring spikes, low paying wages, typically good fit for WOTC. Anybody that's in the staffing space, you can use that image to represent anybody in telecommunications, call center, churn and burn types of volume of support centers. Always a good fit for WOTC. And again, everyone, I just wanted to paint a clear picture today to give you guys some paths to go down to think about this as a business, but that does not limit the industries that are a good fit. Because as we learned about on the first slide, this is good for any tax-paying company in the US. So if you hire, you stand a chance at earning WOTC, but WOTC is also a numbers game. The more you hire, the more you could potentially earn, and so on and so forth. So as Maria said, keep typing in any questions about the Jenni, Tina, Paychex content, about my content, type them into the chat box. We're going to burn through at the end as many as we can get through. So don't forget to do that. Don't be shy. It's all good. And I'll keep this thing moving. So with that, the last 2 years. So it's weird to say this because the pandemic, clearly not a good thing, but it's put a highlight and a spotlight on tax credits. And it's really weird to say that out loud. But starting with the WOTC program, businesses over the last 2 years are now more aware of WOTC than ever before. And what I mean by that is that when I rattled off a few of those target groups, 2 of the target groups have always been long-term unemployed and food stamp or SNAP recipients. Well, the results of the last 2 years have put more hardworking Americans than ever before into those 2 target groups who, through the Paychex information, who are looking to get back into the working world. So by default, now employers almost stand a better chance of having their new hires qualify for one of those target groups. And there's still 8 more target groups that exist. So again, WOTC has been magnified because of the pandemic. Now, the pandemic, again, it's weird to say this out loud, but the pandemic's also created new opportunities for tax credits. So this all started March of 2020. Crazy to say that it's been 2 years ago we first had this conversation, first started doing webinars on this. But the CARES Act created essentially 2 options for business owners. You could either go down the path of the Paycheck Protection Program loan, or you can take advantage of the Employee Retention Credit. And the Employee Retention Credit, it's fantastic. It is a refundable payroll tax credit. Now, we just talked about WOTC. WOTC is not refundable. It does not go against payroll tax. It's a dollar for dollar reduction of your federal tax liability. So because of the pandemic, the CARES Act created a refundable payroll tax credit, a straight up check that gets sent back to you from the IRS. So it's not the first time the government has done a payroll tax credit. It's not the first time that the government has done a refundable credit. But for ERC, this is unlike anything we have ever seen in the history of tax credits. And this program, everyone, this evolved 4 times in an 18-month period. So again, typically I'll do a whole webinar on ERC alone. So I'm going to go through rapid fire to let you know what this program is all about, because even 2 years into it, we still get daily new businesses coming to us, working with us, that are confused about what's going on, because there's so much information. There's so much misinformation. The Paychex team said it, pre-pandemic rules and things changed regularly. Since the pandemic or during it, it's like daily. Well, there's no exception to it when it comes to tax credits as well. So ERC, refundable payroll tax credit, started with the CARES Act. CARES Act changed. The CARES Act became the Consolidated Appropriations Act. And this was right around the time the government coincidentally was extending WOTC back in 2020. And this changed the game for the Employee Retention Credit, because effective January 1st of last year, ERC changed completely. The credit to this very day is now more. And what I mean by that, everyone, is that it is now much more lucrative for employers. During the CARES Act, the max value of the credit was $5,000 per eligible employee for all of 2020. So from March to December, all of you on this call could max out ERC at $5,000 per eligible employee, which is pretty darn good. Like, that's an awesome credit. The Consolidated Appropriations Act changed the game, because now in 2021, for the folks to qualify, the credit is worth $7,000 per eligible employee per quarter in 2021. So the government during the CARES Act, they took something that was awesome, and the Consolidated Appropriations Act made it awesomer, if that's even a word, but they made it a lot better monetarily. It's also more available than ever before. And this is part of why the Paychex team and Maria and her team are so excited to have us talk about this, is that this is still viable today. And what I mean by more available is that if you took the PPP loan, all of you on this call, and you did not investigate ERC, you can now go back and get it. Right now, on what is it, March, what are we on, 25th, 24th? You can go back to the beginning, March 13th of 2020, and capture every dollar that's out there. You guys know, more rules, more regulations, they make a credit more lucrative, more available, more better. And that means there's more calculations, there's more work that employers have to do. Not necessarily a bad thing. If you have a trusted partner, they can take care of it for you, but more calculations. And with more calculations, you guys all know the story. You got to know what you're doing. The government doesn't go, oh, shucks, you didn't know. It's no big deal. You miscalculated. It's cool. Keep the extra money. You got to know what you're doing. And that's where, a business, you're talking about retaining employees, all the things you have going on. That's where you want to make sure you're trusting folks that have 100% audit defense. And that plays a big role in this conversation. I mean, we all saw it on the news a year ago. You take a $2 million PPP loan, you buy a whole bunch of cars and watches, and you're surprised that the government audited you. Well, that's a problem. So the government is spending money by the trillions. They're going to want to recoup this money one way or another. So as you're taking it, maximizing these amazing programs that are out there, you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. And that's all because of the Consolidated Appropriations Act. They took this credit to a whole other level. And it kept evolving, everyone. The Consolidated Appropriations Act, legislatively, it changed into something called the American Rescue Plan Act. And then back right before Thanksgiving, that changed again to the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. 4 changes for the employee retention credit, each time making it just as impactful for employers. So that's legislatively what's going on with that credit. Now, just like I did with WOTC, let me kind of break down, how do you know? How do you know if it's a good fit for you? How do you know what bucket you fall into based on all the changes that have happened? What it really comes down to, everyone, one of 2 things, government or sales. So what I mean by that, and again, we have an awesome audience today. As you guys think about this after the fact, you got to think, the question to ask is, was your business fully or partially suspended as a result of a government mandated order? Did the government tell you you have to limit your dining capacity? Did they tell you you can't be open 24 hours? You can't be open 7 days a week. You can only employ a certain number of people at one period of time. Did the federal, state, or local government enact an order that was not your choice that affected your business? If the answer is yes, just like that, you are eligible. There is something there for ERC. Now, if you're listening to me and you go, nah, Rob, government didn't handle it, didn't affect me. Okay, cool, forget the government. So let's talk sales. So your 2020 gross receipts, your 2020 sales, if you break them down by quarter 1 summary, 2, 3, and 4, did they decrease by 50% or more compared back to your gross receipts in 2019? So I'm not going to use that normal word, but 2019 is the baseline for this credit because that was the last year pre-pandemic. So if your 2020 gross receipts decreased by 50% or more, quarter by quarter comparison, each quarter that you're good, you hit the threshold, just like that, you've qualified. And what the Consolidated Appropriations Act did is it made it a heck of a lot easier to qualify in 2021. So your 2021 gross receipts, they only have to decrease by 20% or more. And you could compare them back to 2019, or if you qualified in the previous quarter, they allow you to qualify. So they made it actually really awesome for you. So government or sales. Now, the biggest thing, everyone, that I have to stress is that it's either, not both, government or sales. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions. You know, besides the PPP loan and if I can or if I can't, a lot of people think you have to check every box to qualify. Even to this very day, people are still confused. And the best example I can give you guys is I worked with a business, I'm in Rochester, New York, that's where I do my thing. So I worked with a business in Rochester, it was a couple Januaries ago, and they were in the fast food business. Their drive-through is pretty darn good. Their drive-through sales were actually awesome. Yet, every single day of the pandemic for the first 16 months, New York State was under a capacity mandate. This guy could not have full capacity in his dining area. He qualified for this credit every single day of the pandemic for almost 16 straight months. Again, this credit is unlike anything we've ever seen. WOTC is terrific. What the government has done for ERC, if I told you some of the stories and the numbers, y'all would probably hang up right now and call me a liar. But the impact to businesses for this credit is unlike anything I've seen. Now, if you hit on government or sales, a couple other things just to be aware of as a business. You want to go, all right, cool. How many full-time employees did I have in 2019? And I don't mean full-time equivalent. I mean 30 hours or more worked per week or 120 per month, whichever one resonates more with you. Again, I won't get into the super weeds on this, but there's two thresholds. There's 100 full-time employees in 2020. There's 500 full-time employees in 2021. If you're over those thresholds, it does not eliminate you from the credit. It just changes how many employees you're allowed to calculate the credit on. But again, we could tackle that at another time. You also want to take into account if you did take the PPP loan, and more specifically, what time frame did you apply the loan to cover employee wages? Doesn't matter if you use the loan for utilities, for rent, but the reason why you have to pay attention to when you paid your employees' wages is that the government, for these types of programs, they're not going to allow you to double dip. That's a common phrase with a lot of these ancillary tax credit programs, is you can't double dip. So essentially, the government's not going to let you take a loan they gave you. You use the loan to pay your employees, and then you get to calculate a tax credit off that loan money. Like, they're not going to let you do that. So if Sally Sue works for Acme Corp, and I use the loan from May through July to cover Sally Sue's wages, I can calculate ERC. I just got to do it pre-May and post-July. So I just got to be outside the time frames. So that's something to think about. Again, all good, just high level, painting a picture for everyone. And you also want to look at the impact you could have, like how many W-2s you have. That can be a really good thing. More W-2s means more potential calculations to maximize this credit. So all really, really good stuff. The government, as part of those legislative changes, they added another particular subset of the employee retention credit. So everything that I just told you is like the regular ERC, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. But the government has a specific initiative for Q3 and Q4 of last year. It's called the Recovery Startup Business ERC. And again, I know we're going rapid fire through all this, guys. I'm trying to paint as broad of a picture as I can with also being detailed. So government or sales, that allows you to qualify as a business. But if you are a newer business, you can also qualify. So first and foremost, if your business was not affected by government or sales. Y'all just heard me kind of pace around the office, ramble through all that. You're like, no problem, doesn't apply to me. Okay, well, at least for the next 10 seconds, listen to this. So if government or sales does not apply for you, and your business was founded, not opened your doors, but founded after February 15th of 2020, and your gross receipts did not exceed $1 million, and you have at least one employee that has no relationship to the owners, then you could potentially be eligible for the ERC Recovery Startup Credit. And what that is, everyone, that is a maximum of $100,000 of a credit. It's $50,000 for each quarter. So you can earn possibly $100,000 in a credit based off this nuance of the ERC in the legislation. So again, could talk forever about how impactful that can be. I don't like to overpromise, but this is a mind-boggling credit in terms of the impact it can have. There's not a day, week that goes by that we're not getting a phone call from a client that's like, I just got my government check. I just got a $400,000 check. I got an $88,000 check from the IRS. I mean, these numbers are real. And it stands to reason, though. Everything that the Paychex team talked about, everything we know of the world, businesses were so terribly impacted for 2 years that this program is set up to help get people back on their feet. And again, I sit up here, you know, having some fun with you guys, trying to hopefully give you a lot of good education. We don't mess around as a company. I mean, I think a lot of you on this call have spoken with the Paychex team, know the Paychex team. There's a reason why we've been their exclusive partner for over 10 years. And it's not because I can get up here and talk. It's not because, oh, wow, we're cool and stuff like that. We get it done. We take the client experience seriously. And when it comes to these types of programs, you have to know what you're talking about. You have to, it's one thing to come up with a credit. It's another thing to do it compliantly. And, you know, again, not to make it a HIREtech thing, but a lot of you are probably there. The HIREtech name is new to y'all. We've been there and done that before. So yes, the last 2 years have been brand new. But like I was saying in the beginning, the government's been doing hurricane and flood and wildfire and tornado credits for years. At the end of the day, ERC isn't that far off from the concept of those types of programs. So the way we're structured, we don't mess around. We have a team led by PhDs, engineers, tax attorneys. These guys and girls love digesting IRS legislation. We do things the right way. You know, we make it easy because a lot of these programs have commonalities. And the audit defense is the peace of mind. It's the peace of mind to focus on what Jenni and Tina talked about in the beginning. Getting great people in the door, retaining them, making it happen. You know, you don't have time to battle these battles yourself. You want the trusted expert that can maximize it for you compliantly, and then you can keep plugging away as a business. So that's the deal with that. Again, there's a ton of regulations for the credit. I gave you a super high level overview. I won't bore you with all those details. I wouldn't do that to anybody. So I'll just keep it moving as we hit on the third credit here. But again, please type your questions in the chat box. I think I see a few numbers pop up. So keep that coming, and we'll go through that at the end. Last but not least, you got the research and development tax credit. The cool story behind R&D is that's what founded HIREtech. That credit is why I'm standing here today. So this is another very long-standing tax credit program in the United States. It does not have to do with hiring. It does not have to do with pandemic-related things of that nature. It has to do with if you are a business that develops new or improved products or processes, then you have to have a conversation about R&D. So new or improved products or processes. Again, awesome audience today. The folks that are a good fit for R&D when you think about this after the webinar and you think about all the tax credits and all the great content today is, am I not naughty by, but technical in nature? So that's the way you want to think about your business. Now, if you understand that slide, you get my generation from Tina's slides. If you don't, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But that just tells you what it is. So technical in nature. So software companies. Software, great fit for R&D. biomedical, pharmaceutical. That's an industry that we see traditionally being a really good fit for R&D. Manufacturing, good fit for R&D. Craft brewing industry, awesome. Same thing with wineries and distilleries. So, you know, that's a little bit of a more specialized thing too. So if there's anybody in the audience that's dealing with those types of industries, there's a canned set of questions. If you answer yes to any of them, then you're probably a good fit for R&D. You got architecture. Architecture, those types of firms, again, technical in nature, new or improved products or processes. And there's like a key list of 10, 12, 15 different industries that if you're in those industries, you're probably a really good fit for the R&D credit. So all that in summary, so we have enough time for the questions and everything, guys. You know, there's a lot out there with tax credits. Hire credits is maximizing them all for you. Maria was excited to get us on this call. The Paychex team and I, we do these things all the time. We just want to bring awareness. You know, even if the last 2 years didn't happen, we've been doing this thing together for many years, talking WOTC, talking R&D, honing in on some of the other technical tax credits. You throw the employee retention credit on top of it, even 2 years into the program. We just want to make sure that everyone is aware that these are potential opportunities to help your business, to help get things back on their feet, getting back to the way they used to be. And that's why we were just excited to show our partnership together, you know, of making this happen for you all. But in my PowerPoint style of doing it, that's my proverbial mic drop. But no, I appreciate the time, everyone. Maria, thank you so much. And yeah, down for any questions that you guys have for any of the content that we went through today. So I really, really appreciate it, everyone.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of our speakers. I do have a couple questions for you, but I want to stress, you know, we're blessed, you know, at the SBDC to be able to make great connections and partnerships in the business world. And our goal is always to bring you information, good, sound information that you can discern and then make your decisions moving forward. The people who are on this call, and we are not doing a sales pitch for any company, but what we want you to know is that the teams that are here are folks that are in the weeds, as Rob said, on a daily basis. You know, we all attend the same conferences, we all go to the same places, and we're all trying to bring the best and most adequate information to all of you. And when you have so many different industries, you know, we're not subject matter experts at the SBDC in all industries that we work with. So we reach out to those folks who are. So keep that in mind. One of the questions that I have, Rob, this is for you. When you're talking about the retro, looking back, does that mean that you can only qualify for the quarters that meet the stipulation and you declare only those months, or do you just have to meet that? Like if some of your months met that stipulation, then you would qualify for the whole year. Could you clarify that a little?
Yeah. No, awesome question. So it's the quarters that you qualify for. So you do the analysis of gross receipts or government order. You can use both. You could be government mandate 1 month. You could be gross receipts decrease the next month. But you go quarter by quarter in terms of how you analyze and rationalize the calculation for the credit. But to that point, it is still retro back to the very beginning of March 13th of 2020. And because this is a payroll tax credit and you've always legally been able to amend the 941 for 3 years, that's why in 2022, we can still have this conversation. It is still there. Time shrinks every day that goes by that you don't maximize it, but we still have plenty of time if you have not taken advantage of this credit. But you do an analysis based on the time periods that you're qualifying for by either gross receipts or government mandate.
Okay. Second question for you is, when you're talking about these credits, do they extend themselves to municipalities like local city government, education, or is it just selected industries and small business?
Awesome question. Folks rarely toss that out on webinars, so that whoever asked that, really good question. Traditionally, municipalities and government, no. With ERC, they evolved the legislation a few times where, depending on specifics of who you are and what you do, you may be able to qualify. But R&D, WOTC, the municipality, they're kind of out of the equation. ERC possibly, depending on some specifics, and we can talk about that, like sidebar, if we want to route information through Maria and all that good stuff. But ERC, again, that's the one credit where, because of everything going on in the world, the government did a solid thing, and even not-for-profits can take advantage of ERC. We have so many churches and not-for-profits. Again, I could talk for an hour about real dollars we are finding them, where typically the not-for-profit space, you're not talking tax credits. It's a whole different ball game. So yeah, it's a great question. ERC potential there for you. Other tax credits, just by the way the legislation is, not so much. So.
Okay, and then this next question, Jenni and Tina. So when recapping the 6 things that businesses aren't getting wrong, and then looking back at the statistics that you put on the screen, sometimes when you look at the businesses that we serve at the SBDC, we're looking at 50 and less employees. We're looking at budgets that don't meet the size of, mid-cap corporations. What are some things that folks can do on a smaller scale? I saw how, the number one was you increase my pay. We know right now that's a challenge. That is a challenge. So we are trying to build benefits packages that make sense. However, when we think about small business that is less than 50 employees, what are some suggestions you have, or you can think of, that could lend itself to offering that or creating that plan design on a scale that's much smaller than maybe a normal company that you would work with at Paychex, that has, extended, medical plans and that we don't normally see with our business clients.
Right, yeah, I can take that. And then Tina, you can follow up because I'm sure you've got some examples as well. Really great question. So to let you know, we definitely have many clients that have less than 50 employees. So we do this on the daily, right? Like, a lot of it comes down to communications with your staff. So it's really inspecting your staff in order to meet someone's needs. Think about it in every, conversation or relationship you have. Communication is key. So one of the things that a lot of my clients are doing right now through just consulting and evaluating their process is stay interviews. And that is very important to ask your staff, instead of, a lot of people think of it as, we just do the exit interview. And those are people that could be leaving voluntarily, involuntarily, on the good, on the bad. So you really want to go to your staff and ask them, why do you stay? I tell everybody, think of the wedding dance where they say, like, stay dancing if you've been married for 5 years. And then they get down to the people that have been married the longest to give the newlyweds some advice. So look at your staff and go to them and say, like, what keeps you here? Because you may uncover in your brain that you're thinking it's only an increase in pay, but you've got 3 people on your staff out of 25 that are like, I really miss the holiday party. And that was just not a priority that was coming back. So it's really focusing on employee engagement. And I think the best way to focus on that is communicating with your staff, not promising anything, but then evaluating that. So it's kind of doing a really organic, thorough survey without just sending out a simple like Survey Monkey. You're getting very you're getting informal in the sense of you're having these conversations instead of like a formal like click of a button and I'll just see what comes back in. So I think that's one of the best ways in the small business market, and to not feel like you have to just give an increase in pay. Also looking at your benefits from, it's not just health insurance and those offerings, but what kind of holidays do you give? Could you add a floating holiday in one area and have that compensate for like a different area of what somebody is looking for? So, and then I'll let Tina kind of explain, because we also have some retention insight information as well.
Right. Yeah, and I ditto everything that Jenni just said. Stay interviews are really, really important. I think also another thing you can do too, most companies have, either an annual review or, don't do reviews at all. And I would really encourage my clients to, go ahead and maybe not just do an annual, but maybe even do a quarterly or one every, 6 months at least. And again, you can get a good feel. And I think really, it boils down to ownership, right? Making your employees feel like they have a really strong piece, of the pie, right? What does that ownership look like that your employees can have and can contribute to? I'm seeing a lot of my smaller clients right now, they're, running into these retention issues, and they're actually looking at their paid time off policies and taking that information and, maybe moving, if they didn't give, 40 hours of vacation until after they've been there a year, maybe they're moving their accrual to start from date of hire and increase it, per pay period, and actually letting them utilize it even after, 60 days. And so I think even those small little things can really make a big difference. We have a retention insight process now with Paychex, and one of the things it looks at, it looks at pay, it looks at, how long an employee's been with an organization, what is it that we can do, what is their wages compared to other industries the same size, the same market as they're in. And those are really some great resources. And I know those same tools are out there, available in, in the general market too. Another thing I think that's really important, and it was, really noted on the PowerPoint presentation a couple of times, is mental health. So we're seeing a lot of issues, around mental health right now, and having an EAP program, that might, be beneficial to your clients, getting in there, finding that provider that can provide that resource to your employees. Maybe on a small basis, or maybe the company takes on, the first consultation visit and pays for that, and then the employee would utilize any insurance benefits or things of that nature that they might have going forward. And making that just available for the employee, but also their dependent children and their spouse as well, I think says a lot. And it's funny because I remember even back, I'm going to age myself here, but back in 1986, we actually had an EAP program. And you didn't even hear of it very often back then, but we had a gentleman in town who was a psychiatrist, and we partnered with him and developed a program because we saw that there were some issues going on within our workforce, time and attendance issues, marital problems going on, that was causing some issues and, lack of productivity. So developing an EAP program is definitely even beneficial. Helping that mental health, because Paychex here, we're very strong about life and work balance, right? Mm-hmm. And go hand in hand. And then giving your employees that access to remote work, or hybrid work. If you can't go, and allow somebody to work remotely, 5 days a week, every day of the month, then maybe you do a hybrid. So one person is working Monday, Wednesday, Friday at home, and the other, person is backing them up, during that time, and then vice versa, they switch. So maybe you have somebody that partners on and off with individuals. And I know there are some industries that can't happen, but there are those small industries where it might be beneficial. So again, EAP, remote work, as Jenni mentioned, stay interviews, increasing, performance reviews. And performance reviews don't always have to have a dollar amount attached to it. If you're right. Loyal upfront to your employees, they're going to know and understand that. It's just really just a check-in with them. And even checking in once you do have those remote employees, I think, making them, again, take ownership of that role and where they're at. So I hope that answered the question that individual had brought in to us. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Did anybody have anything else they wanted to share? I don't have any more questions. Okay.
If there's no other questions, I was going to give one other suggestion that I've seen small businesses doing a lot lately is evolving their handbook policies. And what I mean there is around, like, they've had vacation and sick separate. And I've done a lot of conversations with clients in the past couple of years around switching over to PTO. So paid time off, it encompasses everything, and it just allows your staff, and I feel like it just goes so hand in hand with like mental health, right? If you're looking at your bank and you're a new hire and you're like, I don't even have any vacation time yet, So I'm going to have to say that I'm sick today. It just drives the wrong type of employee morale that you're wanting from your organization. And I don't care how big you are or how small you are. If you can empower your staff to be honest and follow the ethics policy, then that is one area that you can highly benefit from. And I think that that is one of the biggest policy adjustments I have seen throughout my clients with very, very few employees to my clients that have very, very large employers. So that's just an added little touch there that I think is a bonus to look at within your internal handbook.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. And some last notes as we come to the end of our presentation. We will be sending out an email from the SBDC that has an evaluation form. We value your feedback. A lot of the information and presentations that we bring to you, this one in particular, was based on suggestions or what our clients wanted to see, what they wanted to know. So the more information that we get from you, the more in-depth information we can bring back to you that is geared towards your individual businesses. So please look for that evaluation in the next 24 hours. We will also send out, once this video is rendered, we will send out a link to the video recording so that you can go back, re-listen to some of those things that everyone said, as well as the slide deck so that you have that to review as well. Again, we thank you all for taking time out of your day to come to this presentation. Thank you to Rob, Jenni, and Tina, and Adam for helping me put this together, and to my Sbdc team for all of their hard work. Again, we value you and all that you do in our Southwest Kansas or in our entire Kansas region, from wherever you might be calling in from. Should you have further questions, please feel free to contact us. And you will have everyone's contact information on this presentation in the slide deck when you receive it. All righty, everyone have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.